Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 2017 Oregon Head Start Pre-Kindergarten Director's Monthly Webinar. I'm Michael Connor, Preschool Program Specialist with the Early Learning Division, and as a co-organizer, I've got analyst Teresa Waite here, who may or may not be on mute. I see we've got 18 on the line now, and Patty Wilson is here. Brooke, all the way from Condon. Cindy Walsh from Klamath. Donna's here, wonderful. Suzanne Miller's here twice. She's that good. She comes in twice. As you can see from the agenda, we've got a full one. We've got some calendar and announcements. Collaboration Director Shauna is going to give an update with lots of good information and analysis. And then Analyst Teresa has a couple items for you. OHSA President Donna is going to be giving a legislative update. Then we're going to be going over the request for funding grant document that we shared out last week. We're going to try to surface any questions that exist and clarify anything that we can that's in the factual realm. If you've got questions about that, we'll take them and get back to you as a group. I've got a few equity resources for programs, and then we'll have an OPK only huddle. If you have a question, you can post it in the question box. And if you, that's what we can do. So without further ado, I'd like to get started with Collaborations Director Shauna. How are you today, Shauna?
Great. As soon as you unmute me.
I'm going to unmute Shauna, and then, oh my goodness, that's a good thing to do. How about that? Did that work? No? Okay, we're getting there. Audio. Maybe I can make you a presenter. Would that be helpful? Teresa, do you know? Try it now.
I just got unmuted.
Yay! Thanks, Shauna. Thanks, Teresa.
Tells you when it happens. So good morning, everyone. I'm glad you guys had time to be here. You know, it's getting to be a very busy time as we get closer to the end of the year for everyone. I just wanted to update you on a few things and share some resources as well. I was actually up in Seattle not too long ago for the TNTA meeting, and we got to learn a little bit about the TNTA plan that the Region 10 is submitting with their requests to the National Centers for next year. We will not know anything official until those get finalized with the National Centers to see what our region is able to receive, but they're very excited to get that back to us as soon as possible so we can get things on our calendars once they know what we'll be receiving, which is very exciting. Some of you may also know that they did appoint the Deputy Director for the Office of Child Care. Her name is Shannon Christian. She was actually previously in this position about 8 years ago under the Bush administration, so some of you may be familiar with her. It definitely sounded like folks are positive about the work she'd done in the past and her willingness to work with others in those pieces. So we don't currently have any news on the Head Start Deputy Director or the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Early Childhood Education. So those positions still have not been appointed. They did do a wordsmithing title change where previously these positions were called the director, and like Ann Linehan or the government staff was called the deputy director, but they've renamed these new positions as deputy director, probably in sync with the deputy assistant secretary. So, so that's been a slight shift. So I'm curious to see what Ann Linehan's title will be when there's a shift, if it turns to director or if they word it a little bit differently. There's also a meeting, the STAM meeting, which is for State Administrators of Child Care, and they are coupling the Head Start Collab directors to attend that meeting in August and have our own meetings as well. So I'll be back out there in August receiving more information about what's happening at that level. One thing they discussed with us in our time in Seattle was talking more about staff health and wellness, which, as you know, like we have performance standards now that kind of look at that. And one thing that I hadn't learned of, which some of you may be very familiar with, but I feel is very powerful for the work we do is talking about a study that was done in Pennsylvania, and it was the Head Start Staff Wellness Survey. And this survey was given out to 66 out of 91 Head Start programs agreed to participate. And of those staff, 65% of the staff in those programs did participate in the survey. There was a much larger subset of women in the study. It wasn't solely women, but a much larger subset to be able to get data out of. And they discovered that women working with children in Head Start programs have poorer physical and mental health than do U.S. women who have similar socio-demographic characteristics. So they used two different national surveys looking at folks with similar situations as the women working in Head Start to compare things. So I think it's a kind of an important piece for directors to be aware of and have in mind, and some of you may instinctively be aware of this and understand this challenge for folks because of the fact that we have a lot of stressors in the work that we do, and it can have an effect on our staff. So there's the link to go to that website if you guys, we can take a quick look at it so you guys can get a little bit more information. Can you go back to the last side and follow the link for the top one for cdc.gov, so that you guys can review this at your guys' leisure to be able to, oh, it's being difficult, silly PowerPoints. So that you guys can look at that study. It does give a little bit more information about where exactly the pieces came into place with diagnosis of depression. It also talks about something you guys probably know pretty well about the fact that they have more missed days or sick days as well, which also impacts your programs and your staffing patterns if that's something that is a higher occurrence in our piece. So as you see with the results, it goes into a little bit of detail about that frequent unhealthy days is 28.3% was the average for the women working in Head Start, whereas the national average, or the other studies average, was 14.5, so it's like double the number of unhealthy days. And then having more physical conditions was 21.8% for the average as opposed to 12.6%. So it's kind of, this is the first I'd heard of the study, and it was very startling to me. I guess we know that our staff are under a lot of stress, but it's kind of interesting to see this strong evidence about the effects that those are having. So if we go back to the slideshow, there's actually another website, which we won't go to, but it's the nationalwellness.org, if you guys have a chance to kind of explore that with some more resources. So the next slide is going to talk a little bit about updates that we have, and starting with the updates for the Early Learning Division. As some of you may already know, we have finally had a permanent Early Learning System Director appointed. Her name is Miriam Calderon. She will be starting in mid-July, so we have some time to prepare and excitedly await her arrival. She is currently the Senior Director of Early Learning for the Family Foundation that's located out in DC. She also served under the Obama administration and the National Council of La Raza, doing a lot of advocating for early education policies to support Hispanic and dual language learners. So she's actually been in Oregon previously. She went to Portland State, and she has worked as a mental health consultant. So we are excited that she'll be returning to Oregon with her family and able to be working here with us. So to keep you guys up to date with the Early Learning Council, there's the next meeting is tomorrow, May 25th, and the selected child care resource and referral applications will be brought forward and recommended for award at that time. And this is a public meeting, they all are, so you're welcome to join. They do live streaming, and the link there can take you to the spot for you guys to be able to join and listen in on that. We do have some new members recently. We have Holly Marr, I do believe she's from the Eugene area, Carmen Urbina, which I know I saw her present to Matt Hood Community College on cultural responsiveness, so some of you may be familiar with her. And the third person appointed, I'm sure you're all very familiar with. We were very excited to have Donna Schnichter join the Early Learning Council. Her perspective and experience with Head Start, as well as with early intervention and early childhood special education. Look at that little bonus circle by Michael. That's awesome. I'm very excited she's on that, and I think that her voice and perspective will add a lot to the work of the Early Learning Council. So thank you, Donna, for choosing to participate in that. We know you were spread pretty thin, but it's pretty exciting to have you there. So the other thing that I want to mention in regards to work with Early Learning Council is the Lynn England Award, and it's an award that recognizes people and organizations who improve safety, quality, affordability, and access to child care at state and local levels. So it's given annually, and there is a link there to go ahead and submit a nomination for that award. So if you have partners, if organizations or folks that kind of meet that, then please go ahead and go on there and do the nominations. So that, I'm not sure the timelines on that, but I'm sure if you go to the link, it'll tell you. So we got a little bit of time to get that figured out. And then the other piece related to the Early Learning Council is the Spark Revision Ad Hoc Committee. So they've had 3 meetings to date, and they have reviewed a first draft of the standards. And if you follow the link there, you could actually review them yourselves if you'd like to see where things are at. They're still going through adjustments and changes. So that's not the final, but it is a first draft. So it does give you a sense of where things are going and where things are at. This committee does meet the 3rd Friday of the month, and public is also welcome to join that, as meetings are archived and live streamed as well. And we do have 2 representatives that represent the Head Start sector that were selected for this committee. So Pam and Sabrina from Mount Hood and from Albina are resources for you guys if you do have feedback or comments or want more conversation, that they're part of the committee and feeding that information back to us. There will also be a lot of community engagement events and opportunities to continue the feedback loop. So we'll keep you posted once we get a schedule and more information about those. And if you have specific groups that you would like to participate, you're welcome to go ahead and do that as well. So for general ELD updates, we just want you guys to know that Vroom is now available via text in Oregon. I know a good amount of you guys are already utilizing that program. So I want you to know that that was a new level of availability that's occurring. And if you want more information around that, you can contact Ari. He's our resource all around that. Some of you may also know that we have a new website for the Early Learning Division. So we're still working out kinks. So if you have challenges finding something or something doesn't look quite right, please let one of us know and we'll gladly pass that on. We want it to be very useful for our consumers and folks in the field. So if you do have things you notice, let us know. And hopefully you'll get a chance to take a look and see the new layout and find it very useful. As you guys should know, we are in our homelessness data collection period. So I know that Donna Bolt sent out an email that should have been received by directors May 11th. So you guys should have that. If you have any questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to myself or to Donna to get clarifications. It does have definitions and further information and talks about how your community liaison will be touching base with you on that. So for trainings and opportunities, we've talked a little bit about Summer Institute on these calls. There's been a change. The introduction to motivational interviewing actually is no longer accepting folks. It got filled up since I made the slides until today. But there are sessions that do still have space, and that's making the most of full-day kindergarten, activity-based intervention, and culturally responsive individuals and organizations. And especially the culturally responsive individuals and organizations, if you had folks that could not make your local trainings in regard to this, like that might be a good opportunity to send them to so they can have the opportunity to get that exposure as well. So that's something to take into consideration. There's the link to register that's located on the slide, and it does include, these sessions are between most of them are 2 and 3 days. We do have a 1-day session, but it filled up very quickly and has the longest wait list. But these other sessions are options. We have 3 that were sponsored by the Early Learning Division. So we had the School Readiness from Emotional Intelligence to Self-Regulation, which is the 1-day training, Toxic Stress and Trauma, Supporting Children, Families, and Systems, and then Practice-Based Coaching for Instructional Leaders, which is the one Michael will be offering, and those are all full with wait lists, but we'll definitely keep you guys posted for next year what those pieces are that we can contribute to the Summer Institute. There's also PSU credit available for the majority of those except for the 2 of the sessions. So if you're taking if you're doing that, you should know, and you can let us know if you're interested in getting credit for those, both graduate and undergraduate level.
And they all have credit, continuing education.
Yes, all of them are eligible for ORO, so all of them will have ORO credit for you guys as well. So very good clarification, Michael. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, some of the home visiting opportunities for home visitors in our state. These are offered through the maternal, child, infant, early childhood home visiting, the MCV, but they are eligible for anyone in the state who does home visiting. So it's wonderful that we have access to these resources and opportunities as well. So I just wanted to let you know they extended the deadline on the scholarships for the infant and toddler mental health course at Portland State, and it's fully online. And you have till June 5th to register for that. So that scholarship application and that information is available via the link. If you have any challenges, you can reach out to myself, and then Carrie is our contact in the Maternal Child Health Bureau that can help us out with those pieces. But that's a wonderful opportunity for scholarships to get that great class. Additionally, they have some other learning opportunities that you guys are able to access as well. So these are free webinars that you're able to participate in. As you see, there's a code ORHV webinar that when you check out for the course for you to use, and it doesn't note that you need to check out for each course individually to receive the full discount, so register for one and then go back and use the code to register for another one. So there's one on June 7th coming up about being present with families. They have ones on maintaining boundaries and home visiting for supervisors, which I thought was a wonderful opportunity. They also talk about trauma for supervisors, putting the pieces together. A lot of you that oversee home visitors understand like what they actually go through being in homes and the depth of the challenges that those families are and how that works and connects with our staff. So that's a great opportunity as well. And the last one is domestic violence and safety planning, which kind of goes off a little bit in August. But you can follow the link for all of those. If you want descriptions of those courses, I have those and can forward them, so feel free to drop me an email if that would be easiest. And I think that's all for me. So thank you guys very much for letting me share those pieces. There was more I wanted to get to, but we ran out of time. There's just too many resources, which is wonderful. So if you ever have specific needs, let me know and I'll keep my eyes out for you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shauna, as usual. A lot of information and analysis. Thank you, Shauna. I really appreciate it. And next up, I hope Donna appreciates I worked pretty hard on this slide. It's beautiful like Donna. So Donna, you take it away. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I appreciate the effort you put in this. It's excellent.
Yeah, it only cost me like an hour.
Oh, almost nothing, right? Well, I have a report for you. Starting back at the beginning of the session, most of the discussion was around the budget because they knew going into the session that there was a $1.8 billion deficit that had to be made up somehow. And there was varying views and opinions on how this would happen. So the February forecast showed an increase in revenue over the next biennium of $200 million. And then the revenue forecast in May supports that maybe there would be $187 million increase. So now we're down $400 million basically. So the deficit is $1.4 billion. There are differing ideas of how to do it. The Democrats have been working all session to pass a cut program and also have a revenue package, which means increased taxes. There's been no traction. They can't get enough votes to pass either one. And so they just are arguing back and forth. And at this late point in the session, the likelihood of being able to put a tax package together is not good. They still have to balance the budget. So we'll just stay tuned. This is probably the quietest session that I've ever participated in as far as Head Start, because usually we start off in a climate like this, being cut early and having to really fight hard to get our money back, if at all. And we've been very successful. This time, we are in a really good position because we started out when the co-chairs presented their budget, they cut all early learning except Head Start and early intervention, early childhood special education. That is due largely because of your advocacy with your local legislators and our lobbyists. Our lobbyist has been working behind the scenes all session long to really reaffirm the good work that we do, and that Head Start is a program that should be left unharmed by cuts, because we still haven't reached our goal of 100%. And so Rod Monroe, who's one of the co-chairs of Ways and Means, is really one of our staunch supporters. And he has stated in conversations with Justin Rainey from Public Affairs Council that he would not support any cuts to Head Start. So we have someone who would really fall on the sword for us. And we're not anticipating being cut at all, which then presents, so far has not presented a big problem in our relationship with the programs that are experiencing cuts. The hubs and KPI, Kindergarten Partnership and Innovation, will be cut potentially by 20%, and that Healthy Families by 10%, Preschool Promise by 10%. So our partners are experiencing challenges as far as what they're going to do. They're also working very hard to have those cuts being restated. We are supporting that also from the standpoint that if we were being cut, we would want them to support us. So the flip side is we will support them. The only thing that we will not support is an expansion of Preschool Promise, which is not going to happen this session, until we can work out our enrollment issues, which takes us to the policy packages that we have. And Head Start, this is the first time that Head Start has actually put forth a bill. And we wrote it and sponsored it. So it's House Bill 3106. It has passed both the House and the Senate, unopposed really, because there's no money involved, and it makes sense to all of the legislators. So there are two parts to it. The first part says that the hubs will convene a meeting between Preschool Promise, Head Start, with the unspoken of other early learning providers in their hub area to discuss enrollment, service areas, and eliminate the challenges of Preschool Promise enrolling Head Start eligible children. Also looking at parent choice as a key part of this, that they would work together. Now that there's teeth sort of to the work that started in meeting and doing the memorandum of understanding between Head Start and the hubs, that we're hoping that it will open the doors to conversations, and that the challenges we had this last year enrolling would not exist. I know that's Pollyanna, and I'm sure there'll still be challenges, but we're hoping that it would be at least decrease the challenges. The second part of that is allowing the Early Learning Division to adopt rules that would allow our programs to have three options, which would be extended day, so all of our classrooms would be extended day, part day, or a combination of both. And the passage of this bill gives the Early Learning Division an opportunity to write rules around that, so that we as programs would be able to change our model if we choose to do that. And it also puts us in compliance with the new performance standards. The other bill that is that we worked on as an association is House Bill 2013 that Speaker Kotek put forward. And it came out of a conversation with her office about that the requirement for a bachelor's degree for the teachers of Preschool Promise was too rigorous. And my part of the conversation was, I don't think that we should reduce the requirements for the teachers, because Head Start says that all of our teachers have to have bachelor's degrees as a minimum. So then Preschool Promise should too, and research shows that outcomes for children increases with teachers who have a bachelor's degree. But I said also there should be some language in there that allows teachers who have been in the field for a very long time to demonstrate that they're highly qualified even if they don't have a bachelor's degree. Oro currently does not have a pathway for that, and we were, this sort of brings forward a method or a conversation at least of what it would look like to allow teachers of Preschool Promise, because Head Start still has to have the bachelor's degree, an opportunity to demonstrate quality. The second part of the bill also looks at teacher salary. Some of the members of the committee, it was a very small committee, believed that the salary guidelines or the directive to Preschool Promise that the teachers should be paid the same salary as kindergarten teachers in their area. They did not like that language and wanted it to be sort of eliminated. Again, we had a conversation, and it's going to, the bill lines out now that the Early Learning Division would provide guidelines and technical assistance to programs to address the salary disparities among the preschool teachers and staff, and it authorizes the Early Learning Council to develop strategies to increase mean salary for preschool staff. So I really wanted that language in there because the conversation and the ability for us to increase our teacher salaries is all because of this Preschool Promise and the salary requirements that they've had to put forth, which also means that if by chance there is any extra money in the budget by the end, and we never know because it's always amazing in the last hours of the session, they've found some extra dollars. Not saying that they will, but there's always that potential. If they do, our first choice is always to get $15 million to increase teacher salaries, and then to keep expanding till we have all 100% of the eligible children served. So right now, Head Start is in a very good position, and we haven't had to work super hard as a group. That our lobbyists have done a tremendous job this year. So there will be some targeted letters that will need to go out, that Justin is writing what he wants us to say right now, and as soon as I have the language that we need to use, I'll pass it on to you, and then we will trickle in letters to the legislators. Part of it is thanking them for holding us harmless. The second piece is we still want teacher salaries increased, so we'll see how that goes. So that's the end of my report, unless somebody has a question.
Donna, thank you so much. I do have a question from Sui. She asks, please provide the name of the bill requesting of the variety of models. Articulating.
House Bill 3106.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but good.
Not fine. It is on the governor's desk for signature, so it has passed through the legislature totally unopposed, and the governor just has to sign it into existence.
Okie dokie. I'll just give a second here for other questions. And that's good. All righty. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. We're hoping to have Donna participate more in these webinars as a chance to share information and understanding. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up is, I believe, Teresa. Teresa's got a couple of items for us. I bet she can unmute herself. I don't know if she's going to go camera. I don't know.
I am not going camera today. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Terrific. Monthly reports. I want to thank everyone because monthly reports came in this month pretty much unprompted. And that's kind of the direction we want to go, that it's a very automatic thing for you guys. And I think by providing that link to an electronic format for that report, it's really helped streamline things. Totally still
I worked
welcome.
hard on this slide too.
Yeah, we do have two folks who haven't turned in their program's reports for the month yet, but otherwise we are doing very well.
Thank you, Teresa.
And then EGIMS claims. Make sure that you get all your EGIMS claims taken care of before the end of the biennium, or at least the timeline for claiming for the end of the biennium. That includes your one-time only funds. So please check on that, and if you have any questions regarding that, please let me know.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. Any questions for, I almost said Lucretia, which is my daughter's name, for Teresa? Questions? Give a second here. Okay, great. Well, we wanted to spend some time with you reviewing the request for funding that we sent out last week. And we have like good adult learning experts, we have a pre and a post test. So here comes the pre-test. It's a poll, and it says, I'm confused about the request for funding. So if you could respond, either strongly disagree, all the way to strongly agree. Oh, so far the results are in. They're coming in. We've got some, the first people to respond were confused, but now the less confused folks are. And we understand if there's confusion because there is some of this that's new, so that makes sense. Just give another second here. We got 60% voted. It's like France. A lot of people voting. And there, we'll call it good. So now I can share the results. You should be able to see the poll results now. And it looks like there's some confusion, not strong confusion, and that's good. So we're going to go through it, and then we'll do a post-test to see how effective our presentation is. I did do the Wordle here, which is based on the request for funding. Yeah. Okay. So to do this, you'll notice you can either look on the screen or not. But Donna's overview. Donna's overview reminds us of the context, which is a couple things. One is that we're projecting essentially stable, comparable funding for the next biennium, at least to begin with. And that means that the OPK slot funding, that is the funding per slot, we're projecting to be about the same. Oh, let's get rid of that. How's that? Okay, so funding is going to be about the same, the cost per slot about the same. Of course, that depends on a budget, which we don't have yet, but that's part of the context. Is the legislative context is we're projecting essentially the same. And that also applies to slots in service areas. And the big idea there is that in general, slots per service areas are going to remain about the same, unless you've already had a conversation with us about changing the number of slots in a service area or to your grant, then we can project in general slots are going to be about the same. And then the other context that we've mentioned before is that the Department of Justice here at the State of Oregon asked to review those grant agreements that we've used for a while, and they came back along with procurement with some requests for changes. So none of these changes, almost none of these changes reflect anything about policy. They're mostly about making sure that they're legally sufficient and that the good folks in procurement and Justice are satisfied with how these are presented and filled out by you all. So what we're going to do now, Teresa's going to help me, but we're going to look together at the form and highlight some of the things that are new and why. So this is what you should have gotten last week, as you can clearly see. And so I'll just kind of go through and talk about why we've included the various things that we're including. One thing that's new is that we now have a date for the community assessment update, the annual community assessment review and update, which is required by the performance standards. In the past, we haven't had a firm date on that, but because the performance standards sketch out a process for grants that's a little more specific, we're trying to reflect that a little bit better. And so because your slot requests are and your program model are supposed to be based on your annual community assessment update, we're asking that to come in before your grant request or with your grant, with your request for funding, so we can help understand why it is you're requesting the slots you're requesting and the program model that you're requesting. So what used to be called phase 1 is this request for funding and the community assessment update, which is required annually, is part of that. The next thing that that it seems a little bit different is the OPK slot request for each proposed service area. Now, the reason that is included is, one, it does reflect a little bit better what the performance standards say is supposed to happen, but also, secondly, Department of Justice said you all need to request something as part of the process, and so the logical thing to do is to request slots based on, for each of your service areas, based on a community assessment update. So as I mentioned before, in general, that slot request should just be the same as you've had already, unless you've already had a conversation with us where we're reducing or changing your slot number, and you'd already know, if you know who you are. Otherwise, you just want to request the same amount of slots that you have right now. And then the third thing is that you're identifying the program option, again, based on the community assessment. So most of you will be changing, some of you will be changing some of your program options because you have funding for a duration. Other options are the part-day model or the home-based model. Those are identified and spelled out in the performance standards, but we want you to say clearly what program option you're offering to parents and why. That's generally based on parent demand and parent needs like that. So that's what those 3 items at the beginning are all about. So sliding down a little bit, these equity deliverables, which is Exhibit D, we'll go into them a little bit more in detail, but at this point in the request for funding, which used to be called phase 1, in the request for funding, we're just giving you the information about what's going to be required for the next grant year, these equity deliverables. So we're laying them out for you, what's involved in the equity project that we're working together on. We're just providing that information here. So as you know, we've really worked on providing a uniform and slicker way for folks to turn things in. So this is the link where you can scan and submit the document electronically as a PDF using this link, which you can copy and paste and to a browser, and then it'll open up the submission for the request for funding. And as it says here, I've highlighted it on this paper, they're due June 23rd. We're trying to give you as much time as we can. By statute, we have to issue grants on July 1, so it's going to be a busy week or 2. So we're trying to balance giving you as much time as possible to complete them and having enough time to review them and think about them. I will say that I believe it's 7 community assessments in already, community assessment updates, Teresa, or is it 9? Higher, 9. 9 already in, so that's about a third. So Patty Wilson squared asks about the training on educational equity. We're planning the pre-service now, how many hours and exactly what's required. Patty, let's go down and see what it says in Exhibit D. But in general, those details are not, we're not quite ready for those. But I appreciate the question. I'll slide down here and see. I appreciate the question. And we'll keep track of that question and make sure that you get as good an answer as we can. Those haven't been, some of those details have not been finalized yet. So this is again Department of Justice request that we've got some legal, your organization's legal name. Organization's legal name or person's legal name? Teresa?
Organization.
Organization, okay, good.
That's a good point.
See, I'm learning. So everything that's highlighted with this red band is Department of Justice. And you're going to list the slots you have this year and the slots for next year about the same. There shouldn't be, unless you've already had a conversation with us, your slot request will be the same as last year.
And I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the programs were sent a specific number for OPK funded slots and that we would like to see a specific number as opposed to the words about the same when you send in your funding request, yes. Please.
That's a good point. Right. Okay, I'm going to slide down. Feel free to look away so you don't get car sick. As usual, we'll be distributing some guidelines about using TS Gold and how to use it to fidelity. It is something that we're working on with grantees, a couple things, making sure that teachers are reliable as they complete checkpoints, making sure that they've had the basic course, which really orients them to the whole understanding of what TS Gold, the assess function, is all about. So we'll be distributing those guidelines in the summer probably, and I did have a question recently about the checkpoint dates on the TS Gold website, and those are the dates that we'll be using unless you hear differently, so feel free to mark those in your calendars. And then following Head Start best practices, we're working with programs next year to make sure that you're using class for program improvement. What that means exactly for your program, we can talk together about that, but we want to use class, the best practices in Head Start for using class for program improvement. So that's included in this list of what you're agreeing to, and what we're agreeing to is to help you make a good plan for that and make sure we're understanding what the class results are and how they can guide your coaching systems and so forth. Sliding down, and here's where some signatures go. This is all very similar, the accounting system, advance payment, all very similar. So I didn't highlight anything there because it's basically the same. We did include, this is a little bit new, we included a couple new definitions. So we've defined equity, which can be helpful in knowing what we're getting into and what you're talking about with your staff. We've defined that term furthest from opportunity. We defined service area according to the performance standards, and we've defined service equity. And also the Department of Justice said, what are slots? So we thought, oh, that's interesting. We're in Head Start land, so everybody knows what slots are, but we had to define that also. So here are the equity deliverables. Again, this is information only now. Detailed plans will be in the grant agreement, which is what used to be called Phase 2. So to Patty's question, all staff providing direct services to populations completed training on educational equity and its explicit intersection with racial equity and provide evidence of agency that the training completed and certificate blah, blah, blah by June. So we do have that deadline is not until the end of next program year, Patty and others. So so the fact that we don't have the details now, I hope is not too big of a burden, Patty. We'll get the details as soon as they come out of the committee that's working on them. If you have input on that, of course, feel free to contact us. And there's those dates there. And then the last thing I'll share here is we've included a timeline of what's due when. Again, just for information purposes, we're trying to help lay out what the plan is as near as we can tell right now. So it just walks us through the program year and even into next fall a little bit. So that's a little bit about what's happening with the request for funding. Are there any other questions about the request for funding? If it's just a clarification question, then I can try to handle it. If it's something a little more substantive, then I'll take it back to our team and we'll put out a response to the group. But if you've got questions on the request for funding, now is a good time to ask them. Just give another couple seconds here. So seeing none, we're going to, oh, Teresa has something? No. We're going to launch the post-test.
I do have something after the post-test.
Okay, good. The right answers. So here's the post-test. Same question. You're confused about the request for funding. The results are coming in. Hopefully we haven't made too many people more confused. Nobody's agreeing. Well, that's good. 77 and participation shot up dramatically. That is great. I'm going to close the poll here and share it. And based on my extensive background in data analysis, I'm going to say that that was a successful experience going through that together. If you do have questions that come up for you later or you felt like you didn't want to ask them in the group because I'd say your name, feel free to email those and we will either tackle them individually or if it's appropriate for the whole group, then we'll try to respond to everybody else, okay? Thank you for your attention on that. And Tristan has an announcement. I'm going to see if I can quickly unmute her because I think she'd like to make this announcement in herself, her own self. Tristan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
There we go. So the bill we were just discussing that went to the governor's desk just got signed.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, I don't know if I can be enthusiastic about that. I congratulate the association on its work. That's great. Thank you, Tristan. I appreciate it. Okay, so next up, oh, here comes Teresa.
I just want to finish off the conversation regarding the grant process by letting everyone know that the grant agreements that are going to come out will look substantively different visually. That is because between the Department of Justice and the Procurement Office, they will look more like a contract. They will include all the forms and documents that we ask you to return to us during Phase 2 as deliverables. And there will also be some boilerplate language in there. I'm hoping to have a draft out for you to review before we get to that point. So I'm working with procurement to get a final draft that I can have everyone review for questions ahead of being asked to sign on these. And that's all the information I have right now. I don't currently have a draft.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. And now we'll go back to this item about that grant agreement. See, she anticipated it. About that grant agreement. It's under development. So as soon as we have a draft, we will definitely share that with you and try to answer some questions.
I'm just anticipating the need, that's all.
Yep, yep. So that brings us to equity resources. Something we've tried to do is to provide resources toward the end of each meeting. I want to point you in the direction of this orientation that's coming up for My Peers. And I know that I'm just learning about My Peers, but it's a platform developed by Head Start, although not owned, not run by Head Start so much. It's an online platform for collaboration and peer learning. And I know that the Tristan knows about this too because she's in the group. There's a Head Start, Oregon Head Start Health Managers. It's not the same term for every organization, but you know what I mean. And they have an online group through My Peers where they share information and resources and forums and cue each other about what's going on. And we are in the process of proposing to start one for coaches in OPK programs. So this platform is free. And if you're thinking about ways to connect your teachers through a work group that's somewhat private, you can have both an open community and a sort of a private work group. So it's kind of a cool resource. It's totally free. You can share resources, you can chat, you can share files, you can make announcements. It's a soft way to interact with teachers and coaches, and maybe leadership teams can form their own work groups. Who knows? So that's available. There's a webinar coming up next Tuesday to learn more about that platform. So another item that I saw that came out is this Dual Language Learners Science to Practice brief. These are 2-pagers written in common language about how dual language learners work and what teachers and caregivers can do to support them. So they kind of look like this, and it starts out with science, and they're very positive, they're very approachable, and each one then, so this one is about how dual language learners are ready to learn, and each one has, like I said, sort of a plain language understanding of what do we know about how babies and small children who are learning 2 languages learn, and how best to support them. These would make great discussion pieces for professional learning communities or teaching teams or site meetings. And like I said, each one, in addition to the Ready to Learn one, there's one on the cognitive benefits of bilingualism and how children who grow up as dual language learners process language. So I really like and appreciate the connection from science to practice. So and each one has concrete ideas about what to do. So for example, this one from the first one, play games, think about what your plain language approach is. It's got links to other resources, so it's not a closed-ended thing. You can, staff and teachers and caregivers can take this and keep going with these ideas. So those are available through the slides, the link there. There is a brand new report that came out that's very comprehensive about children who experience trauma and the policies and strategies in early learning organizations to support them. This report includes a definition, talks about the impacts and the special needs of kids who've experienced trauma, and then also talks quite in detail about promising program strategies. I know that the trauma-informed care and learning is something that a lot of people are learning about and talking about, and so this resource, which is linked here in the slide, if you're interested in that resource, feel free to check it out and maybe share what you've learned. Shauna already mentioned the Early Childhood Summer Institute, which is coming up in just a month or so. There are a couple classes that are still open for participation, so feel free to check that out if you'd like to. There's not registration open. This just in.
No, it is until June 9th.
Oh, until June 9th. Sorry. Registration is open until June 9 for the Summer Institute. Thank you, Shauna. And then now that the OHSA calendar is kind of unbelievably scheduled out for all of next year, it's I can't even, sometimes scheduled next week, but kudos to Tristan and Donna on that. And the director meeting is next month, the 21st to the 23rd. I'm thinking that's probably not a great time for a webinar since people will be in transit and things like that. So what I think I'd like to propose is that I work with our team here and the good folks, Tristan and Donna and others at OHSA, and we figure out a logical way to do that. Yeah. The 4th Wednesday is the 28th. I don't know that we'll need a webinar the week after. So we'll figure it out. Stay tuned, as my colleague Nakisha would say. Stay tuned. The Early Childhood Inclusion Summer Institute at Western Oregon University, coming up on August 9th through 11th. A great place for teachers and caregivers to get higher level training and good experiences as professional learning. And that concludes our equity resources. We did have a question about the reduced item assessment on TS Gold that we're working on, and that's another stay tuned. I just sent a note to them asking for an update on that. When I have more information, I'll be sure to share that. That concludes the major portion of our May OPK Directors ELD webinar. Unless I see any questions, I will invite the OPK only, the state only funded programs to stick around for a huddle. And the rest of you, I encourage you to go enjoy your day serving the kids and families of Oregon. Thank you for your attention and your cooperation and your participation. Just give another few seconds for anybody who wants to sign off, which is fine. I see Teresa's here. That's good. And Kathleen's here. And Brooke's here. Wonderful. Oh, apparently I was making noise there. That's not cool. Okay. All right, so then without objection, I wonder who's around here. Brooke, you're around? Can you say hi? Are you alive and kicking in Condon?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Then heck yes I am. It's sunny over here today.
Oh, it's always sunny in Condon.
Is it?
Unless it's piles and piles of snow.
Yep, unless that.
Kathleen, how about you? Are you there? I unmuted her, but she may be doing something else. Okay, well, I wanted to check in briefly about the upcoming Summer Institute course for coaches. I just found out that some of our coaches were registered for the, I don't want to say the wrong class. I would say not the class we were hoping for. I did talk to the organizers, our colleagues, and they're making sure that those are lined up. But if I could ask you to also double check and make sure that your coaches are signed up, or you if you're going, Hi, Kathleen. She's still muted. She said hi in question land. Anyway, if you or your coaches and/or coaches are going to the Summer Institute, would you please make sure that you're registered for the class that has the phrase instructional leadership in the title? How about you, Teresa? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. How is it out in your beautiful part of Oregon?
It's sunny with the winds blowing today.
Okay.
Quite a bit cooler than yesterday.
Okay. And Teresa, is it true? I don't think you're going to the Summer Institute. Is somebody else going from your program?
I'm trying to figure out what I can do.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure how I'm going to do my coaching model yet.
Okay. You should invite me out. We can chat. I like to
Okay.
come visit. I don't know if you'd like to have me come visit, but I'd like to come visit. I had a good time last time.
Yeah, I'll have probably a better idea here in the next week or so what I want to do.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. Anybody else with thoughts, questions, comments? How's it going on your grant requests for funding, your community assessments? Are there things that I can do to help or support you? If you raise your hand, I'll unmute you. Unless you're Kathleen, in which case I unmute you and you still don't say hi. Kathleen's just excited about the Beaver baseball team. And why not? #1 in the country. Anyone? Brooke muted herself, I think. Okay. Well, I had the chance to come out and visit Brooke and Brittany's program. I also got a chance to visit with the hub and see a classroom and do a class observation, and met with their community partners at Umatilla Moro. I thought it was a really productive meeting and really helped me understand some of the strengths and challenges of Brooke's program. I would love to do the same for you. I just need an invitation. And so if you're stuck or you want some feedback or you want a chance to check it in person, let's set something like that up. I did get an invitation for the good folks at Head Start of Lane County. They're having their graduation party, and I got invited to that. I'm not able to make it, but I like getting invitations like that. It's really, really cool. Also, if you want to just do a virtual meeting or a Skype meeting or a phone meeting, you can call me and we can set something up too. I'm happy to help on things like figuring out your community assessment, starting to look at self-assessment data. What data are you going to collect? What data are you going to look at? How is it going to help you set your goals, like that? So if you've got a chance and you're interested in some feedback and a thought partner, as they say, feel free to let me know. It says, oh, Kathleen says she's missing a mic. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, it could be a pin thing. It could be your computer. I don't know. Something to work on for next time. Okay, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any other questions. So unless somebody speaks up right now, I'm going to sign off and wish everyone a happy Wednesday. We'll be sending out the slides and the resources pronto. Okay? Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of May 24. Take care.